I'm for, if it's not going to be the old way where you just play baseball until it's over, I think you should just stop the game at a certain point instead of creating false action. But, I got my first at-bat in the big leagues in an American League game. Oakland, we were at home against Anaheim. We were in like the 15th inning. We had ran through guys and lost our DH, and I ended up leading off an inning in like the 15th inning. You were not going to see those like random fun things anymore.
Yeah, I mean, everyone wants to see Bartolo Colon hit. Why would you need a DH?
Bartolo's a different animal, a different breed of human being. So,
fantastic. A 7-inning doubleheaders. I don't know if you're a fan or not of it. I personally think it's terrible. I mean, as a fan, earlier this year I had tickets to a regular game, and the night before was rained out. So all of a sudden, boop, I get 14 innings instead of 9. I was ecstatic. I got more baseball. But then there was some people this year who had a 7 o'clock night game, and they put in a doubleheader, but earlier in the day, and they had to clear the stands. And all of a sudden, your 9-inning game, you just got cut short of 2 innings, and now you only get 7 innings? That's a service cut. I'm not a fan of doing that. That's terrible for the fans.
I agree, and selfishly, I didn't think about it from the fan aspect until now. I was thinking that you would get 14 innings, like you said, and instead you get 7. I think that's
9 for 7. Yeah,
I just figured they would just let it roll, but of course not. I don't know why I would. Having dealt with that side of things for a while, I'm not sure why I didn't point that out. But from a baseball perspective, I don't like it there. I like the extra inning rules more than I like the 7-inning doubleheader, because that
agreed
changes the aspect, the way you manage, the way you play the game, what you do with your starter. Like it completely, it's a different ball game at 7 innings. Your bullpen, your starter usage, when you pinch hit, all that stuff is completely different. And I think that is a big swing and a miss. You're changing the fundamental aspect of the game for the entire game because of shortening it up.
But actually, it's not that bad for this year, because all the pitchers, they haven't built up their innings from last year because it was half a season because of COVID. So actually, the 7-inning games actually may benefit the pitchers, so they don't get used as much. Their innings stay down a little bit and actually may preserve them and, I guess, keep them healthier. What do you think?
I don't think so. I think, guys are going to get pulled when they get pulled as far as starters, but what you're doing is you're changing. You're not going to bring in, say, if your guy only goes 5, you're not going to go from 5 like you're up 1 run. You're not going to go to your middle reliever. You're going to go to your setup guy to throw the 6th because the next inning goes to your closer. And so you're going to change. You're going to eliminate jobs. You're going to eliminate useful for like the 3rd, 4th, 5th guy in the bullpen is going to basically be eliminated. And that also, adds to if you're playing a 4-game series and you're trying to get into their bullpen and you really run their starter out after 4 innings, and all of a sudden, instead of having to fill out 5 innings, it would help you in the later games of the series. And now you just let a guy, throw 2 innings and the game's over. Like it just changes. It changes so much of the fundamentals of baseball that I really can't stand it. And if you're going to do it and you're going to allow that, you have to keep it in the rules. Like the no-hitters, you can't just be like an asterisk. It's your fault. You changed the game to that. You can't punish a guy because you shortened the game. He threw a no-hitter. Like, I don't understand.
I agree. And the fact that Madison Bumgarner threw a complete game, that should also be considered a no-hitter, right? I mean, he got credit for the complete game, so he should get credit for the no-hitter, right?
It's crazy where they draw the line these days, my friend.
Yeah, exactly. I want to talk a little about the sticky substance ban. We had players such as Tyler Glasnow who got injured and came on and directly blamed the fact that this change was, or this crackdown, I should say, took place mid-season, and all of a sudden he had to go cold turkey and not using any substances, and he thinks that was terrible timing of MLB. From your point of view, and maybe you could tell me, if you used anything or if you know of others who've used stuff, but there's the hard stuff like the spider tack. There's the old rosin sunscreen. Hey, listen, I pitch my own softball games. I use sunscreen and rosin myself. It helps.
Nice. Yeah. So I legitimately never used any substance until I got to the big leagues, because the ball is different. I got up to Oakland for the first time, and at the night game, it's 50 degrees, and you got that marine layer off the bay. The balls are like cue balls. The way they're rubbed up, the way they come out of the package, it's the slipperiest thing in the world. And so everybody knew that the ball was slippery. And so guys, I was like, hey, what's going on, guys? Why can't I hold on to this baseball? And it was, the baseball is terrible. The big league baseball is really slippery. So I was shown how to use sunscreen and rosin, and it wasn't cheating to me because it didn't make anything I did better. It didn't change my spin rate, that I found out later in my career when spin was now, readily available and something that was taught. And guys just did it because you need it for grip. You wanted to be able to hold on to the baseball. You would literally just touch it, rub the ball, and it would become like every other baseball you've played with your entire life instead of being like just super slippery. And then, they didn't enforce it. And so guys found a way to use it to their advantage. Once they figured out that spin is in and the stickier substances make your spin higher, there's going to be guys that find a loophole and figure it out. And so, it's kind of, you shot yourself in the foot by guys cheating. Like, I think the spider tack and substances like that are cheating. It's not going to change who you are. Like, obviously Garrett Cole used spider tack, right? He's the poster child, but he went and threw a CG and had 12 punch outs without it. And so it's not going to make a bad hitter or a bad pitcher a great pitcher, but it's just going to make them that much better. And so it's not on the level of, steroids where you're changing the type of player you are, but it's definitely cheating. Tyler Glasnow, unfortunately, I'm not a doctor. I don't know what it was, but I do know that if the baseball is slippery, you feel like you have to squeeze it more. That is an unfortunate byproduct. I think MLB should have, they've known this for my entire career. Since I got to the big leagues in 2007, it's been a known thing, and I guarantee it was before that. They could have changed the baseball and figured out how to put a baseball that has grip. You wouldn't have to mess with it. Every other league has a baseball that you open up and it's out of the plastic, is ready to go. I played against Japanese teams, Taiwanese teams, they're ready to go. And so baseball, instead of addressing a problem, they just figured they would manufacture one and make the balls fly farther and harder. So I understand guys that were upset that MLB changed it mid-season and just decided to start enforcing it, but it needed to be addressed. Guys were cheating, and they, instead of fixing it themselves and policing themselves, they weren't going to do it, and so you had to stop it. They should have did it the offseason before or even 10 years ago, but it is what it is, and I'm glad it's out of the game.
Yeah. And the problem also is that MLB can't go and say, well, we'll allow certain substance, we'll allow sunscreen and rosin, but we won't allow a certain other substance. It's very hard to do that because I guarantee you, if you allow anything, all of a sudden the teams will come up with a bunch of chemists and they'll engineer something that looks and smells like sunscreen and rosin, but it has a lot more grip and it has a lot more tack to it. There's smart guys who can do it, and I guarantee you they will try that. So I think MLB tried to steer clear and say, okay, you just can't use anything. You got to go cold turkey. The question, of course, was the change mid-season the right thing? Because now you're talking about, literally pitchers touching the ball very differently, have a very different feel in their hand.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely should have been addressed in an off season, but it became, they let it go for so long that it became, almost an epidemic where they're teaching it in the minor leagues. All the teams are kind of endorsing it and trying to move forward with that. And so they let it get out of control, and then they panicked and stopped it mid-season. And so, you're seeing kind of the result of that. Again, I'm glad it's out of the game, but the problem still remains that the baseball is super slippery. It is legitimately different than any. my entire life, I've never picked up a baseball, wet conditions, cold conditions, and it didn't feel right in my hand until I got to the big leagues. And I'm like, what is going on? Why is this different? I played baseball my entire life, and all of a sudden I get to the biggest stage and this baseball doesn't feel right. Like, that's a big problem. And so they still have that hanging over them. They need to fix it. It's still a problem. You're going to have issues with it. And so you can't allow, like you said, you can't allow sunscreen and rosin, because even sunscreen and rosin can be taken advantage of if you apply it and reapply it and reapply it.
Right,
you're gonna create stuff that is really sticky, and you're gonna people would abuse that, because you leave you leave a crack or you crack the door to anything, and players have shown time and time again that the reward is too big, and guys are going to try to take advantage of it. And some guys don't even see it as cheating. They're just like, look, if they're allowing it, I'm going to try it. And then if I get caught, it slap my hand, from sign stealing to sticky substances to pitchers that were known for scuffing the ball with sandpaper or using a spitter. Like, these are stories told down, and you look at history of guys being in the stands and wearing a different hat for off speed and whatnot. Guys try, and they will try no matter what rules are out there. Guys are going to try, and some people will cheat. You just got to stamp it down when you see it, and MLB failed to do that, and then you see the results now.
Yeah, and, of course, that brings up a big issue in baseball, is that the penalty for getting caught is not that great, and the upside for a performance increase is great. I mean, if you're performing well, your next contract's worth millions of dollars. If you're caught, maybe it's a game suspension, 3-game suspension. I mean, it talks about the whole steroids era where, people would use it, and, I got to get to the big leagues. I'm not going to make any money if I don't get there, so I might as well use it. If I get caught, so what? Got to take that chance. That's a little bit of a problem when you have a pay scale that the very top are making quite a lot more than people who are not in the majors yet or just in the majors, that it allows trying anything you can for an edge, even if it's borderline cheating or cheating.
Yeah, I mean, I disagree with you in the sense that I think the punishment for this, for using stick, is severe enough that guys are going to stop doing it. I mean, if like I said, it's not going to make a good pitcher, or it's not going to make a bad pitcher great. Like, it's not that your risk reward.
Right.
Yeah, and so I mean, the punishment, like, you've seen it. It's pretty much eliminated from the game. I even think, Hector Santiago, I imagine what he had on his glove was from years past, or even spring training. Guys, It takes a while to break in a baseball glove. He probably had it on his hands, and it eventually, over and over, from rubbing it on your hands and putting your hand in and out of your glove so many times, there's a buildup there. I bet he didn't even use it that game, and it was buildup from just not wanting to use a brand new baseball glove. I could be wrong. I could be naive in that sense, but I have gloves here in my office that there's like residue from months of using sunscreen and rosin. It's not I can't touch it and all of a sudden my spin rate goes up, but it's just, from sweat and buildup and dirt and all that stuff. It eventually, just like your shoes or, the scuffs on your shoes, eventually that stuff's going to build up. But I think it's pretty much gone from the game, and I think the punishment has been enough, and maybe the humiliation and embarrassment that goes with getting caught, I think, has shown guys that they don't need it. You don't need it because it's not that much of an advantage. It doesn't make you significantly better, and if you can't make the adjustment, then you don't belong in the game.
And Tyler Glasnow actually blamed it for his injury. But injuries have been up all throughout baseball. Why do you think that is this year compared to other years?
Well, I think it was the shortened season. I think it was the whole year of not knowing what to do, not training the same way, and then ramping it up in spring training on fewer innings. That's been, guys have been getting injured from lack of inactivity the year before, whether it be from, a non-throwing arm issue, like they hurt their knee and had surgery, and then their innings were shorter, then the next year they go out and get hurt. And even from guys that go out and throw 200 innings plus, they go to the World Series. I remember in 15, after the World Series with New York, all these pitchers had shorter rests going into the offseason, so they weren't ready to go at spring training because they actually had to take time off to let their arms recover. It's just there's a science to it, and when you change the schedule that much and change the wear on guys' arms, you're going to have